Thank you to Access Japan, to Judith for the invitation, and of course to DAAD for hosting this event. Well, I'm Xavier Eichhout. I'm the national contact point for the Mariscos Kakuri actions in Spain. And well, it's a privilege to have this collaboration with Access Japan in order to try to help applicants who are currently located in Japan to participate in this funding scheme, which is an excellent instrument to foster collaborations between European institutions and institutions basically worldwide through the fellows. So um, hopefully you have seen the slides. Well, you have received them this morning. The idea is that you didn't need to study anything in advance, but what we will be doing is what you can find in the first slide in the agenda. So now for a while, you will have to bear a little bit with me because I will be speaking for a certain amount of time, basically explaining the overview of the Marie Curie, the Marie Curie actions, the postdoctoral fellowships. So the kind of projects that you can build, the eligibility criteria that you have to make sure that you meet in order to be eligible to participate, and a little bit of information about how the process of the evaluation works. So that's, let's say, on the theoretical side to just set the base of what these postdoctoral fellowships are about. And then we will basically devote most of the time of this session to think or reflect together on how to prepare a strong proposal. So we will be going through the main sections of the, let's say, the central part of the proposal, and I will get back to that in a minute. And I will be proposing a number of practical exercises for you. We will be using a couple of examples, you will be requested to work together to ideally, I think it would be nice to do it in teams, both of you who are there on site and the people online, which I think we will try to put into breakout rooms, and reflect a little bit on these exercises, and then come back and do a recap together and see a little bit what would be the answers to the queries that I posed to you. And as I said, we will be doing that for the excellence section. We will be doing that for the impact section and for the implementation section. I've made an estimation of having a couple of breaks because, I mean, these events, I mean, we have 4.5 hours in front of us. And I mean, this can be a little bit, I mean, it's a lot, it's a significant amount of work. And the fact that we're doing this hybrid also is quite a technical challenge. So depending on how things roll, we might move the break up and down. And then by the last part of the session, I will finalize just with a couple of practical tips on the preparation of the proposals. And we will also hopefully have time to go through what is the submission service. So how you actually, once you have your proposal written, what do you have to do with the documents and how you present the proposal. And that would basically cover, let's say, the entire life cycle of the preparation of a postdoctoral fellowship. So hopefully we'll make it to the end, and it will be something useful for those of you preparing a proposal right now, or thinking about preparing it for the coming year. So first part, you're probably aware that the Mariscos Kakuri Actions is one of the funding schemes that we have within the main research and innovation funding program in Europe, which is Horizon Europe. It's located, just for you to know, I mean, this is just a little bit to be familiarized with the terms, because you will be bumping into these things when you start working, let's say, in this ecosystem of EU grants. But MSCA is located in the pillar 1, and which is for excellent science, and together with ERC, they are the main programs which have a bottom-up approach, which means that they are basically not thematic, so they're open to all themes, as I will mention in a minute. And it's based on the evaluation. The funding is assigned based on the excellence of the scientific proposal. Although in Marie Curie, we have to take into considerations some specific natures about the program. In terms of size, the entire Horizon Europe program was scheduled to have 95.5 billion euros, and MSCA takes a significant chunk of those 95, which is 6.6 billion euros for the 7 years that Horizon Europe will be running until 2027. And just to mention, you can see there on the right that I have Euratom mentioned, and it's just for you to be aware that Horizon Europe is one funding program, but there are other funding programs which are done collectively in Europe, and Euratom is another example. And I mention it there because this will be relevant for one part of the PFs that I will be mentioning. MSCA as a whole, it's a very stable program, which has been running. It is right now in this framework program, which is Horizon Europe, the one that goes from 21 to 27. But in the previous one, Horizon 2020, Framework Program 7, so on, Marie Curie has always been there, and it's actually quite stable even in the kind of projects that it funds. So actually from the previous Horizon Framework Program, Horizon 2020, to this one, Horizon Europe, the schemes are exactly the same ones, although we changed a little bit the names. And then there are some adaptations, let's say, in the way that you participate and so on. But basically, as I said, it's a very stable funding program. And we're hoping that for the 10th framework program, which will start on FP10, this will continue being the same. So today we will be talking about the postdoctoral fellowships, which are basically what we call individual fellowships, but these are not really individual, as I will show up and as I will mention, let's say, on the practical tips of preparing a proposal. But they are individual in the sense that it's a call in which a postdoctoral researcher gets in contact with a supervisor, with a host institution, and they prepare together a research and innovation project of a proposal and hopefully get the funding. But just for you to know that also in MSCA, there are a couple of other funding schemes. We have two other schemes which are consortium based. So it's different institutions collaborating to implement the project. We have doctoral networks, which fund, they give funding to the institution in order to build PhD programs, innovative PhD programs. And these also offer positions for predoctoral researchers. But these positions are advertised, for example, in the Euraxis website with the projects that are already funded. In the case of staff exchange, there is no recruitment of researchers in this case because it's a collaboration between different institutions through the exchange of staff. And then we have co-fund, which is a program in which only European institutions can participate. And they also co-fund both postdoctoral programs and predoctoral programs. So co-fund projects that obtain the funding, at some point down the road, they also open positions for postdoctoral researchers and predoctoral researchers. But like in the case of the doctoral networks, if you want to look for these opportunities, these are already granted. These are offered already by projects which are funded. And you can find the opportunities in the Euraxis portal also. And last but not least, we have MSCA and Citizens, which is completely different because it's basically a smaller part of the program, which funds science communication and scientific outreach activities, mainly to showcase examples of MSCA projects which are funded in the other schemes. But let's go to business. We're talking about the individual fellowships, which, as you can guess, is the program which is the most popular within MSCA in terms of participants, because of course it's the way that it works. They're over normally, I think last year, we will see the stats afterwards, but we're talking about easily 8,000 applications in every call. And this is the date that we have. This is a call, well, all of them that I showed you in the previous slide are basically repeated every year. So we have a call every year for each type. And in the case of the postdoctoral fellowships, the 2025 call is currently open. It opened on the 8th of May, and the deadline will be on the 10th of September. This means that projects which are funded under this program are expected to be announced around February 2026. And that means that the projects which get the funding could start immediately after being announced, once all the let's say the financial and administrative procedures are done, which is called the grant agreement preparation. And they could start between March and April 2026. But Marie Curie has another nice feature which allows quite some flexibility to the researchers to start the project. So you could start as late as September 2027 if you get the funding in this call of 2025. In terms of funding, you can see it's a significant amount of money. It's over 400 million euros to fund these individual projects. And this means that we're talking about easily, well, I think it's around 1,300 projects which get funded. One common thing to the entire MSCA program, and definitely applies to the postdoctoral fellowships, is that, as I mentioned, we're talking about excellent science. We're the core of every proposal, of every successful proposal, is going to be excellent research and innovation proposals. But one very important element is that it's not only a training or a research project, but it's also a training and research project. MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowships is a call which has the objective of supporting, let's say, what we could call early career postdoctoral researchers. And as we will see, one of the eligibility rules is actually this means on the first 8 years of postdoctoral research activity. So with that idea, one thing that you have to keep in mind when you're working in the proposal is that, yeah, we're talking about excellent science, but we're also talking about training and career development of the scientist himself or herself. Another key thing is what we call, which is a nature of the MSCA projects, is what we call the 3 I's. These are projects which are looking for international collaboration, they're looking for intersectoral collaboration, and they're looking for an interdisciplinary approach. So again, summarizing, excellent science, training and research, international collaborations, intersectoral collaborations, interdisciplinary approaches. This is the entire package that you have to keep in mind when you start thinking about a project that you would like to present in an MSCA call. As I said, also, one thing or one of the reasons why it's so attractive to the researchers is because it's open on thematics. So it's bottom up. Any kind of field of knowledge can participate in MSCA. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is that following that interdisciplinary approach that I mentioned, you have to decide one of the 8 panels in which you will present the proposal. So you can present basically a proposal on any field, but at the time of submission, you have to decide on one of the 8 panels in which you will be able to present it. You can see them there: chemistry, social sciences and humanities, economic science, information science and engineering, environmental and geoscience, life sciences, mathematics, and physics. And the evaluations, so the competition between other proposals, happens within these panels. Another element which the Marie Curie program has, which has its good parts and its not so good parts, is that it's based on what we call unit contributions. So the spirit of the MSCA programs is that the projects are fully funded. It's 100% funding for the project that you present. But what it means is that you need to take into account the budget you will have available in order to, most of the funding goes to your, let's say, to paying the contract of the postdoctoral researcher, but then you have some additional funding in order to implement the projects. And unit cost means that each of these units that you can see there, you have the contributions for the recruited researchers, which is what is used for paying the salary. And then you have the institutional contributions, which is for the host institution to manage the project, but also to help you implement the project. And as I said, these are predefined. These unit costs, each of these sections, we will see what are the exact amounts that we have in the case of the postdoctoral fellowships. But these are predefined. And basically, when you work with the budget of MSCA with a PF, you basically explain where you're going to go and how much time it's going to run. And that gives you the total budget that you will have. So the easy part, or the nice part of the budgeting, is that it really doesn't have much of a budget management. So it's really easy to prepare the budget, as we will see later. because all of this is already defined. And you see there that both the contributions for recruited researchers and the institutional unit contributions have different subsections, which I will explain later exactly in PF how this applies and what each of these means. And then last thing in terms of, let's say, generalities or definitions of the program, you have to keep in mind that although what will happen in a funded project is that a postdoctoral researcher will be recruited in the host institution to implement his or her research and innovation project, the beneficiary of the call, so who receives the funding, who has the contractual obligations with the European Commission, is always the host institution. It's the institutions. This is something common to the entire Horizon Europe program. So we differentiate two roles in the case of the institutions. We have the beneficiaries, which would be the host institution who received the funding and who would, with that funding, make the contract to you as a postdoctoral researcher. And by definition, the beneficiaries should be legal entities established in EU member states or Horizon Europe associated countries, which, let's say in a big picture, we'll refer to as Europe, because that's basically what it covers. But then we have associated partners also, which can play a role in the postdoctoral fellowships. And in this case, these are institutions which can be located basically anywhere in the world. And what associated partners offer during the project is basically support measures. So they can be hosts for secondments, which are included in the project, or they can offer, in the case of the consortium, actions like staff exchange or doctoral networks and so on. These can be institutions which offer training opportunities to the fellows. But as I said, in the case of the postdoctoral fellowships, most likely associated partners will be the destination of secondments that you have the possibility of presenting as part of your project implementation. And as you can see, they're highlighted. As I mentioned, that associated partners can be anywhere in the world, which means, of course, that a Japanese institution could be an associated partner in one of your postdoctoral fellowships applications. And finally, now moving away from the organizations, we make a separation, and there are a couple of differences of what one and the others can do. But generally speaking, MSCA in general and MSCA postdoctoral fellowships in particular are open to both academic organizations and non-academic organizations. Both academic organizations and non-academic organizations can be host organizations for postdoctoral fellowship, and they can also be associated partners. When we talk about academic organization, what we're talking about is basically about public and private universities, and we're talking also about public research performing organizations. In the case of the non-academic sector, we're talking basically about the rest of the world. And of course, this means industry, means private companies, which is probably the first thing that all of us would think about. But I would like to highlight that non-academic sector is much wider than just industry. We're talking about public administrations also. We're talking about other kinds of organizations such as NGOs, non-governmental organizations. We're talking about museums, for example. We're talking about hospitals, those which do not have a research activity. So non-academic organizations, again, key message, they are much more than industry. And this is important to keep in mind when you are requested to make this inclusion of intersectoral exposure as part of your project. So what are we looking for in the case of the postdoctoral fellowships? Well, the idea is that the project, as I said, they are for postdoctoral researchers on the earlier stages of their professional career. So the idea is that these actions should support the postdoctoral research, of course, to implement the excellent research project, but also to boost their skills and their capacities, and basically to make you, let's say, a more evolved or a more complete postdoctoral researcher. So through the project, you have to convince the evaluators that your creative and innovative potential will be boosted, that you will definitely attack those three dimensions that I mentioned. I mean, you will having international collaboration through the project, you will be having intersectoral collaboration through the project, and you will be gaining interdisciplinary knowledge or expertise during the implementation of the projects.